Hi folks, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a review and unboxing of the WizKids Frameworks Orcs, and I'm also going to be letting you in on a deep, dark hobby secret that might just end my YouTube videos. Well, here we go. I guess there's really no point in delaying. Just come in a little closer. You ready? I hate Warhammer Orcs. They're terrible. Now, I don't mind them in Warhammer, but they are Saturday morning cartoon orcs, and that's fine in Warhammer, if that's what you're looking for. But in Dungeons & Dragons, it does not work, and it baffles me that this has become the default type of orc that everyone seems to love. And I'm looking at you too, Warcraft. You can argue at who ripped off who here, but it's all kind of the same thing. Even as someone who owns a 3D printer, it's actually difficult to find orc models that are appropriate for Dungeons & Dragons and aren't just these massive cartoon alien Games Workshop orcs. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, hey, I love Warhammer Orcs in my D&D, that's totally fine. Each to their own, that's the whole point of D&D. But if you're someone who's looking for models that don't look like they belong on, I don't know, Care Bears or My Pet Monster, if you're younger, feel free to insert a cartoon that is more modern and relevant. Then this might be for you.
Inside the box there are 8 sprues for 7 models. Immediately I noticed that the level of sculpted detail is much higher than an average WizKids model. Not as crisp maybe as a Games Workshop model, but also not as over the top, which for me is actually a good thing. I enjoy painting, but I don't want to have to paint literally every item in my character's inventory. These models are modular, which means that in addition to choosing what weapons your orcs have, there are also a lot of leftover pieces. Not only is this great for filling up a bits box and having extra parts around for conversion, but many of these pieces seem like they'd make good orky objective markers or random scatter terrain. Before we assemble the model, one tip that is not commonly enough known is that if you aren't sure what plastic something is made from and if plastic cement will work on it, just cut off a few pieces of the sprue it came on. It's the same material, after all. Do a glue test to find out for sure how it reacts and what's most appropriate. The actual assembly of the models is incredibly simple. While it does come with instructions, this is definitely something you could just eyeball. What it reminds me of is a classic Games Workshop model, like the models that came in the Mordheim box set. There's a torso, some different arms with different weapons, and a variety of heads and accessories, and while the instructions do have a prescribed way to put all of this together, there is very obviously a lot of room to mix and match. As I put this nasty orc fellow together, I noted that he is identifiably a Forgotten Realms orc. He looks like he belongs in that setting, which, as I've said, is important to me. He looks like a creature that could credibly exist, wearing armor and weapons that could also credibly exist, rather than a cartoon. Obviously everyone's going to have a different preference for this, but to me, that's a very good thing.
And there he is, all assembled and ready to paint. It was a breeze to put together, really, nowhere near as obtuse as something like a Games Workshop model, or the kind of models you see from Crisis Protocol. The level of detail on the model is much better than your standard WizKids model. It's not as crisp as something like Games Workshop, though. The lines and faces and things like that are a little less defined, but they are a huge step above where D&D specific models normally sit. There is one other thing that I should probably address though, and that's the price. Some people think that this is overpriced for what it is, and I can see that point of view. You can get double the number of orcs for the same price if you go down to the detail level for the regular WizKids models. But I don't think that it's the same kind of predatory overpriced practices as some other companies use. The reason for that is that you don't need these specific orcs to run a D&D game. You can use any orc model, or you can just put down a pawn from a board game or a spare die that you have lying around and say it's an orc. It's not like you are building an army, and if you don't have this specific piece, your army's no good, so we're going to charge you $80 or $100 for this piece. It's not like that. These are a more advanced, more detailed miniature for people who enjoy painting miniatures and who want higher quality, better sculpts that are still specifically aimed at Dungeons and Dragons. It is not something that you have to have in order for your D&D game to function. And I think that makes a big difference in the pricing. It's a specific product aimed at a specific audience, which is people who like to paint. And for that, I really don't think it's overpriced at all. Alright guys, if you would like to see me paint this model, let me know in the comments. If you want to see the whole group of them painted up and assembled, let me know that too. Otherwise, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.